How to keep a woman in love with you. Everybody wants a woman in love with them. Helps your self-esteem. You get massages, you get cooking, you get meals. I mean, think about how much money you're saving on all those different roles. You get cleaner, get maid. Regardless, how to keep a woman in love with you. I've been in short term, I've been in multi-year relationships where I ended it and they wanted me back, and there's a level of psychology that's involved in that. That's not just something that you can just wake up and do. You have to understand how they operate. And you have to understand what the driving force of their desire and their attraction is, and how to maintain that over months, over years, and even over decades. I'm not old enough to have that much retention with a woman. But when it comes to multi-year desire, you have to do things in a certain way to tap into their human nature, their psychology. They operate in a certain way, and we need to understand how that way is. So in this video, I'm really going to talk about how to keep women attached, how women stay in love with you, how they stay submissive, or however you want them to be, because not all guys want a submissive woman, to be fair. One thing we need to understand about them is they're emotional driven beings, and they're very easily persuadable. That's why when you look at society, I'm not going to go on a whole tangent, but they're the ones that usher in new movements because they're easily acceptable to new information, new perspectives, new beliefs, and then weak men fall in line. And so, with all of that being said, it's going to be a combination of constraining their new environments, but also in a way, keeping things very emotional, light, and a chase. The game never stops. And I think that's something that a lot of men get wrong. They get into a relationship and they change. That's the biggest problem. She fell in love with you and she wanted to be your girlfriend because of how you are. When you start to change and do things that she wants you to do things that you think she wants you to do things that she's insinuating, she's just testing you. She doesn't want you to change. Actually, what she really, really wants is for you to say, I'm not doing that shit. For example, one of my exes, every single morning when I got up for work, because I got up early later, obviously, every single morning, don't go to work. Don't go to work. Stay with me. Blah, 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 blah. Guess how many times I stayed with her? 0. That's how you maintain attraction. They're going to test you. And that's also another trick that men fall into. They'll have a woman that they love, that they've courted. That's their girlfriend. And the woman will tell them to do a certain thing. The man foolishly will follow. The man foolishly will say, well, I love her, so I'm going to do it. This must be what she actually wants. Could be farther from the truth. When she says jump, you get on the ground. You don't do what they want you to do. And you have to maintain the frame of who you were when you started dating. She liked the busy guy. She liked the player. She liked the toxic guy. She liked that energy about you, that detachment, that not caring. That's what she fell for. And so when you switch and you now become somebody different that caters to her, that puts her on a pedestal, the complete energetic feeling you give her on a conscious and subconscious level is entirely different. Attraction fades. You must maintain the same dynamic. Does not matter if she's your girlfriend or your wife. There has to be that dynamic between the two of you. And there's an element of this that is important to note. You don't want to become predictable. You don't want to become easy to understand. You always want an element of recklessness or of unpredictability. They're emotional creatures. They relax by watching horror movies, okay? They go to bed at night watching murder documentaries. Do you think they want a guy that texts them every single time of the day, responds promptly? No! That's so perpetually boring, and you have to understand that because logically speaking, this doesn't make any sense. Why would they want someone consistent? Why would they? It doesn't make logical sense because they're not logical creatures. So we have to start to see things and really think about things irrationally and illogically and emotionally. When you see things from an emotional lens, you understand them entirely because that's boring. So you should never text them at the same time of the day. Ever. Every morning they wake up, they should be wondering where the text is. And it just gets pushed back. But it should be different every time. And maybe some days you don't even text her, you just call her randomly. That's interesting. That's different. What's you been up to all day? And then you get kind of mysterious. That's the game. When you text them at the same time, when you change who you are, when you start having different habits. I have an old friend that's no longer a friend of mine. He got into a relationship. She's vegan, now he's vegan. She does yoga, now he does yoga. how long do you think that relationship is going to last? It's not. You have to maintain your habits. She fell for you because of how you are. Now, when you change, it's unexciting. It's too much like her. He doesn't really have a backbone. These are all the things they process subconsciously. They don't say them, but subconsciously they think, oh, I got him to change his ways. He's not really a leader. Their followers were leaders. For you to be a leader, you have to lead the charge. You can't follow what they want you to do. And so unpredictability, staying busy, maintaining your habits, seeing your guy friends, going to the gym, working long and hard hours and not giving into her saying, I want to see you more. You can't give into that shit. You can't give into it. Then you lose frame. This is the game. This is the frame you have to maintain. That's how you maintain attraction. That's how you maintain somebody that admires you and respects you and says, wow, I can't even get him off his own habits. He's in love with me, but he's still putting himself first. I'm attracted to that. That's how they are. And men are very opposite. That's simply how it is. The second you lose frame, I talk about frame all the time. It's so true. The second you lose frame, it's over. When you become predictable, it's over. When you start getting lazier, it's over. That's how you keep the chase going.